Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha.
All right, so we're about to engage with a reflection by Chris, and for those of you just joining with our online recording, the topic is how do we apply the teachings of emptiness in our own lives? How is that helpful or meaningful, or maybe not so much? And Chris, you're bold enough to go first.
Bold enough, yeah. Well, so, when I first heard the concept of emptiness, I didn't really understand it. But when you think about it, that, there is no inherent existence, that everything is devoid of, its own essence, that it's all dependent. That makes a lot of sense. And when I think about like the big things, like how did I come across the Dharma? Just like, running into people, new ideas, recognizing that, I always think like there's no new idea. Sometimes we think we get some insight, but it's always coming from something else. And I think for me it helps me get out of my own head of thinking that self-importance, like we've talked about, like thinking about I made something. Well, I didn't really make it. All the different people that have, that you talked about, all the different things that had to come into play in order for that thing to happen. And so I think the benefit is it kind of brings more wonder and specialness to the world, the interconnectedness of us all. And I think, um, yeah, I find some peace and solace just knowing that we are so reliant upon what other people have done. And, the Native Americans talk about 7 generations, like the next generation is being dependent upon us and how we're showing up. Um, and so I just find it comforting to know that how I show up in the world is going to be impacting others. And that kind of sometimes when I'm feeling alone, it moves me out of those moments of it changes my perspective on it. So I find it incredibly beneficial. So
Thanks, Chris. Sounds very connected, like the essence of what you're sharing, very connected to others, to events, to what's arising. Yeah. Ashley.
Yeah, I could relate to what Chris was saying, that it helps me feel more connected to know that, we all are influencing each other, and what I do impacts others and what they do impacts me. And I'm not just this little isolated blob that's not separate from everyone else. It kind of loosens that and makes me feel a little less stuck in
Mm.
my own mind, and to recognize that there's a flow, and that I don't have to be the way I always was. I can change, I can grow. And it also kind of helps me out of that self denigrating mindset of, oh, this, I'll never get it, and to step back and to notice how I have grown and changed, and how recognizing this has kind of helped, and I can see the difference in my relationships and in my life in general.
That's good to hear. Yeah. Thank you, Ashley. And yeah, we so easily identify I am like this. And I am not like that. I'm like that sometimes. Right? And wow. Yeah, it sounded empowering. Thank you. All right. Is it Keith or Kurt?
Maybe both. I have
Okay.
some too.
Maybe both. Might be
Okay,
both.
maybe both. All right.
Um,
Double winner here. All right.
Double winner. Two birds with one stone.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
What?
For me, I keep coming back when when I get wrapped around the axle about who's getting angry about at what, right? That there's no, it helps me to step aside from the afflictions when they come up, because I can go back to this feeling of, or this understanding that I'm this I'm merely right. Merely a label in my own head, almost, right? I label myself as I, but there's nothing truly there. I think I can see that intellectually, and it actually is helpful for me when I'm starting to think that the world is picking on me, because it seems like that a lot, and and it's really not picking. There's nothing to pick on. Right? That helps, right? There's who's getting picked on. There's nothing there, right? It's just causes and conditions, right? Next instant, the next instant yeah. Anyway, that's what are you gonna say?
Yeah. I don't know if John has any comments for what you're saying for
Yeah, I was gonna say thanks, Kurt. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's such a valuable reflection.
One of the things I've noticed, it's really helped me with reducing judgmentalness of other people
Yeah.
and labeling them, and increased tolerance and acceptance and just like meanness. Being able to catch myself, so and so is angry, or so and so is selfish, or so and so is annoying. That isn't who and what they inherently are, and just remembering that that's an experience I'm having of them, and that they, like we talk about all the time on here, is that they are many other things and have many other facets. And instead of just jumping to these conclusions and labels and judgments, it's been expansive. It's really opened me up to a lot more acceptance of people. Not that those judgments don't slip in. When they do, though, I catch them pretty darn quickly. And I'm able to keep my mind and heart open to people. And in fact, and I've talked about it in some meetings, I don't know if on here or not, but where I have noticed a judgment come in, challenge it, pulled the label away. And in fact, I've come to have very positive experiences of those people, whereas in the past I might have just smacked that label on them, they're inherently that, and closed my mind and my heart to any more, and they're just gone.
You're dead to me now.
Kurt might say they're dead to me now. But so it's been enriching that way, that because I don't do that anymore, it leaves the door open to these connections and friendships, and I really appreciate that. So that's been a nice aspect of the emptiness.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I saw a little, which reminds me of what you're speaking to. It was a little kind of like Buddhist cartoon, and it's a person looking at a person that looks just like them, and they're facing each other. So it's like a mirror. And so some people, in the world, they see it's a mirror and they know it's a mirror. Some people look at the mirror, don't know it's a mirror, and attack the mirror. And so that's exactly what I hear you sharing, is that when you're looking at people, they're mirroring a lot of what you're are bringing to it. You're experiencing them through your own subjective experience, and you know that. Whereas a lot of times we're just attacking the person. Right. And I thought, wow, it was really a profound little, should have clipped it. But yeah, some people know it's a mirror, and they can learn from the mirror. Some people don't know it's a mirror and attack the mirror. Yeah. Hey, Betsy.
Okay, sorry. There's a phrase that I've been drawn to many times, and I think I'm just realizing it relates to this, and it's be content to create the causes. And it kind of makes sense to me, because moving forward, creating the causes is what moves things forward. And I don't have to have the answers. I don't have to know the solution, but to be content because everything happens from causes.
Yeah, that's a great piece of wisdom, right? Because you're creating your future right now. You're creating the causes for what comes next. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great bit of wisdom. Sam might make a bumper sticker. We'll see.
It came from Venerable Semke, Semke from Shavasti Abbey. She said what venerable children would say to her sometimes when she'd be frustrated about not being able to have the answers or know which direction to go. She said, just be content to create the causes.
Yeah. In the teachings on karma, there's these sort of 4 laws of karma. And, one is once a cause is created, there will be a result. And then the third one is if there's no cause, there's no result. And that's what caught my attention. People always thinking this cause, this result, but if I don't create the cause, I won't get the result. And that's what I'm hearing you say is like, wow, I want to be peaceful, more loving, more kind, but I'm not doing anything to to be like that, right? I'm not creating those causes. And yeah. And so that one always, if you want a lemon tree, you need to plant, the seeds of a lemon tree, not oranges. And yeah, so really appreciate that. And the other piece to that, of course, is we're experiencing the result right now of previous causes. So if it's difficult right now, well, that's done. How I respond is creating the future. And for me, that's real freeing. When I find myself in a challenging, difficult environment, I realize that karma has ripened and it's done. I don't need, unless I mess with it. Unless I mess with it. Yeah. Thank you, Betsy. Hey, Larry.
My topic for a while now has been impermanence and being able to see the change in everything that's in front of me and in my head and around me and that I'm part of, and realize that the emotions will pass and the joys will pass and the drama will play out, and I can be content in being aware of all that.
Yeah, that impermanence piece is so valuable, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, because when we're stuck in that emotion, it's very big, but when we know it will come, it will go. And we're still here. And things changing. Yeah. That's an incredible thing if we can remember it.
And then we forget.
And then we forget. But forgetting allows us to remember. What do you think? All right. Hey, Holly.
Hi, everyone. I spend a lot of time taking long walks, and what I've been doing on my walks recently is just pretending like everything is a blank white screen and that I am projecting the movie of my life onto this screen. And it's all subjective, it's all relational. And what has kind of been the result of this practice is I seem to have this deeper sense of responsibility for my life, that I'm responsible for my happiness. I'm responsible for that irritation that keeps coming up, and it just has given me this sense of ownership that I can't keep blaming people and the world and the president, and it's mine. And it just has become very clear that, wow, I'm orchestrating this. So thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, thank you. Jetsuma Tenzin Palmo uses that analogy.
Mhm.
There's a beautiful talk she gave many years ago on wisdom at the Women's Club in San Francisco. Many years, like one of her first trips out to raise money for her center. And she uses that analogy like a film strip, the little the old film strip that comes through, and what we're looking through our eyes, is the screen, but it's we're seeing it through our own light and lens, and so filling that in. If I can remember, I may post that on that talk. Yeah, she brings it to life like that. Such a good thing such a great analogy. And for those of you, I was just thinking, we dove into the benefits, and I love that we're having a discussion. Some of you might be new, and we're talking about emptiness, subjective experience. Maybe you wonder, what the heck are they talking about? And so one entry point, I think what people have been sharing here, and these are three things that I think have been common threads, is to just simply understand that how we are experiencing the world is subjective, right? The world that we see out there is not an objective, independent, separate place. We all experience the world through our own subjective way of being, based on our own conditioning and the experiences we've had in life and so forth. And so the easiest, most simple thing I always just tell everybody is every one of you is seeing a different John right now. And we forget that, right? We just think, this guy John, he's like that, as though that's how I am, and not realizing that every one of you is experiencing me differently. And so when we talk about emptiness, those qualities that are attributed to me as though independently they're mine, they're not. They're an experience. I'm bringing something, you're bringing something, and then we see each other in a particular way, and it's subjective, not objective. And I think that, is what's been touched on here with the mirror analogy and with the movie analogy, and the idea is that how I'm experiencing anything has a lot to do with me, and a lot to do with my attitude. It has a lot to do with whether I slept well last night or not, and whether I'm finding someone annoying or not. No, but it doesn't mean that the people I'm in contact with aren't bringing something. They're bringing something. It's just not objective and independent, like we stick that label on. That's how they are. They're a liar, And I'm sitting here with a room full of liars, right? I mean, who hasn't lied here, And but that person's a liar, But we also know some people are, shall we say, very difficult to say truthful words. Very challenged to do that, some more so than others. So just understanding that how we're experiencing this world is, very subjective, and the way I attend to it can have a lot to do with how I experience it. But it's so easy to just have thoughts, feelings, and emotions arise, desires arise, impulses arise, people that we like and don't like. And we just think that's how it is without exploring more deeply how we are creating the causes for how we experience people, places, and things, back to creating those causes. so that's one, and I also like that you brought in relational, subjective and relational. Everything's relative, right? Good day, bad day, relative to what? You know, am I in a prison where I get tortured every day? Good day is the guy who tortures me doesn't show up. That's an awesome day, and so everything's very relative, right, to how we experience the world. So we experience the world subjectively, and it's always relative. And what was brought up, the dependent origination with Chris, this idea and understanding that, everything that's coming out of my mouth, everything I do is because of others. Everything I get to eat, everything I wear, everything I write, whatever I share, well, it's because of others. And, even any word I use is taught to me. Anything I know, I learned. And all that learning was made available by others. So in that sense, there's no independent John that's doing anything original, right? I'm able to be in this body, in this form, and share because of countless others I've never met, often who lived centuries ago, and created conditions for me to be alive. And we have a public school system that I got to go to and so forth. People paid taxes that I've never met and built schools that long gone in their lives and created a condition for me to learn how to speak. Actually, I had to go to speech therapy when I was younger. Difficulty enunciating. Yeah. So understanding, I'm arising dependently, causes and conditions. I'm experiencing the world subjectively, not objectively. Those labels that we stick on things, they're effective if they're applied appropriately, and there's a conventional reality that we get to experience. And some people I can find difficult to be with. I can say, oh, I'm finding this difficult to be with. It's appropriate, good label. Cherry pie being delicious, accurate label. I'm sure it probably, that's just inherent. Maybe that's the one exception to emptiness. So, but we, believe it or not, some people don't like cherry pie. That's kind of weird. And, so then you start to wonder, is the cherry pie delicious, or is there an experience that's happening? And impermanence was a big thing here, impermanence, that we are in a constant state of change. So who we are in this moment is not who we were an hour ago or a day ago or years ago. And that's coming back up to Kurt's point of, this strong sense of identity that we could get stuck in, except that person's changing moment to moment. And, it's not the solid blob of John that I'm carrying around every day. And I think this was alluding to with Kurt's thought was, if I'm getting offended, right, who's being offended? And then, do I need to defend my insecurities and fears? I'm like, well, they're okay on their own. They're doing okay. I don't need to stick up for my insecurity and let someone know I'm offended. And that's just a real sense of an independent self and not an interdependent self. And so, understanding this, we have some opportunities, I think, that I've been hearing everyone say, is how it navigates the world more accurately in ways that have allowed for some more freedom, some more growth, less resentment, less judgment, a greater degree of understanding how to create the causes of the life that we want to live, how to live with more clarity and compassion. I find that really inspiring. And, these are the key things that, we can get stuck in a whole heady conversation around emptiness, or we can start to see, how's it work in my life? And then I can start applying it. And when I start applying it, wow, I get to notice some of the benefits of being, less judgmental, less resentful. Thoughts, feelings, emotions come and go, and I don't need to overly identify with them. I get to use them as information. The people and events of my life become mirrors that are showing me my own mind and my own judgments, my own attitudes. And anyone who's been in a long-term marriage or relationship knows that. Get in a relationship, you will learn a lot about yourself and your judgments and biases and all that. And so this is what I really, was hoping for, is that we get to extract some of these teachings in ways that we can bring into our life and see their benefit. And the fundamental principle here is, in Buddhism, is the more you live in reality, the more you understand how you and the world exist, the less suffering you'll have. And the more capacity to be resilient in the face of adversity, joyful, and creating the conditions for joy and connection. Connection was a big theme here with when I think about spirituality. What's a common thing that people share is, I'm spiritual, not religious, and so, people have various forms of spirituality, and, obviously it can be religious and spiritual, and you can be spiritual and not so religious. But when I really thought about spirituality, I think of it in terms of the capacity to live in reality, meaning every spiritual program that I've learned about, every religious group we start, diving into, even recovery communities. The point of spirituality is recognizing our connection, and it's reducing my sense of separateness. So the ego, so reducing a sense of I am separate from, different from, but rather reducing that to understand how we are connected, how there is this interdependence, that there in my belief system, constant guidance and care that's available as well. And this opportunity then to see that we're not independent, separate, and we're not a person that's unchanging, and that we arise in dependence upon others, and we all have meaning and purpose in our lives. We have something to offer the world, and the world has something to offer us. And that's going back to Chris's point on that connection. So for me, I'm experiencing a great deal of joy to hear people share what they've been able to bring into their life. It's inspiring. As Dusty and Jess could say, my bucket is full. Bucket is full, right? Got a full bucket. All right. Anybody else have any thoughts or things to share here? Okay, we can take a peek into this what we call two truths. I think I get 10 minutes here. And so I'll pop open the text. That's where I'm at in the text. Oops, that's not the text. That's the refuge prayer. Let's try that again. Share. And there's the text. Okay. So this is valuable to understand because as we talk about emptiness, sometimes we think things don't exist, but no, things do exist, and they have functionality and efficacy, and they just often don't, they don't exist the way that we're seeing them. So, two truths. A full comprehension of emptiness requires understanding of two truths: ultimate truth and conventional truth. I often think of it as functional truth, but yeah, conventional truth. Each of the various Buddhist philosophical schools has its own way of explaining the two truths and which phenomena are included in each of these categories according to the Prasangika. An ultimate truth is the emptiness of inherent existence, the ultimate mode of existence of all phenomena. And so again, when they say emptiness of inherent existence, what they're saying is nothing exists independently from its own side. It's not inherently existent on its own. There's nothing that can exist that way. There's nothing that was just already there. It's independent, it's separate. Everything arises dependently, right? Trees, seeds, soil, water, nutrient, become trees and so forth, and sun and sunlight and anything we build, right? Parts that have to come together, the things that come together, that everything that we see, experience, everything that we know exists dependently, right? Nothing's independent, nothing's inherently self-existent. So that's what it means. So ultimately, we can look at the world, things look very independent, like my water bottle. And it's over there, I'm over here, very independent. But it came into being again, right, through all the conditions, the metal and so forth, the idea that we need water bottles. We got a lot of people here. We didn't used to have water bottles. Remember that? What about canteens? I remember canteens. Those are cool. Yeah. You had the round ones and you got the kind of army one, little flask type deal. Canteens. We used to drink water out of a water hose. Yeah, it's good enough back then. Yeah, different world. So ultimately just means things don't exist inherently from their own side. They're not independent, right? They're interdependent. They're empty of this independent way, this label that we stick on it. That's not inherently within whatever object or thing that we are pointing at. And so knowing that, as you just identified, can be helpful through everything that everyone just shared. All right, let me get back to the share button. So ultimately, things are dependent. And a conventional truth is everything other than emptiness. Whatever exists is either conventional truth or an ultimate truth. Nothing is both and nothing is neither. Right? So there easy to understand, right? However, the two truths are not completely separate things. As a matter of fact, you can only have things exist because of emptiness. So things do exist because of emptiness. So it's not that conventional truths are down here on the planet Earth and ultimate truths are up in space. In another universe, there are two aspects. They are two aspects of every phenomenon, like two sides of a coin. A car, for example, is a conventional truth, and its emptiness of inherent existence, its actual mode of existence, is an ultimate truth, right? And so that just means we can drive a car that exists. It's a conventional thing. But when we go through the analysis, you're not going to find a car other than a label and a concept in my mind. We will, you can take the car apart. When does it stop being a car? Start putting parts back on. When does it become a car? And, we start understanding that a cat and a dog don't see a car. Or, car's a construct, a concept in our mind that, and it's functional. It's a conventional reality. We drive in a car if you drive in a car. I actually have a friend who's never got a license, does not drive in a car her whole life. She chose not to drive a car, takes a bus, lives in a city, walks, doesn't do cars. Yeah. So let's get back to it here. The two truths with respect to the car are complementary and interdependent and do not cancel each other out. This is not easy to understand. In fact, it is said that to fully understand how things exist conventionally, we need to realize emptiness. So that's what liberates us from all suffering. That's the whole goal of Buddhism, is to realize the ultimate nature of reality, emptiness, directly. So, in other words, it takes a while. A good place to start to understand the two truths is with dependent arising. This simply means that whatever exists does so in dependence upon other things. Nothing exists independently or inherently. There are three principal ways things depend on other things. These will be explained in the meditation below. So the key point here is that when people get caught up in emptiness and subjective reality, they sometimes forget that, we have a very conventional reality, and sometimes you need to take medicine to get healthy. Sometimes you need to, avoid hitting your finger with a hammer. That's not very fun. There's a very conventional reality there. I learned twice on my recent travel to LA that I need to be careful when I push the label, the handle down on my suitcase so it doesn't pinch my finger. You would think I'd learned that once, but no, I had to nail it twice. And conventional reality, that let's just say it wasn't pleasant. And so we still live in this conventional reality, but also that reality that we function in conventionally, as we've all heard here today, we can have a very different experience by what we're bringing to that experience. More judgment, or resentment, or insecurity, or things, comparison, understanding around connection, understanding, just when I flew into LA, a quick trip to LA, and I was visiting with someone. Now, they actually said, "Wow, you come from Carbondale." They said, "Wow, when you landed in LA and you came in, did you feel all that tension and anger? Like, was that, how did you feel?" And I was like, "Actually, I felt like I was in Disneyland." And because I'm a little twisted. I like driving in traffic. I like the 405 in LA. I feel like I get my little, bumper car thing, right? And I get to navigate the freeway, and I get to see if I still know how to drive in LA, because, see if I still have some skill. I'm from there originally in our small town. We don't do that. So I'm very joyful, I like, wow. So Laura was out hiking with her son, and she sent me a photo of their beautiful hike. And I sent her a photo of traffic on the 405 to show her my beautiful view. And and the thing is, right, it wasn't there's a lot of anger and terrible energy. It's just, if you live there a lot and you have certain mindsets and there's a lot of traffic, it's a drag. But I get to come and go, right? I get to leave it. I don't have to drive it every day. I just look at it as an opportunity. And then I think about everyone in all those other cars, and I think about, that they all have hopes and dreams and lives and families and worries and concerns, and every single car has just generations of life, and then I'm driving with a whole bunch of other people with hopes and dreams and struggles and worries and fears and history, and um, some of them may have paid taxes for me to have an education. That's nice. And we're all traveling somewhere trying to be okay. And then I'm having a very different experience, But conventionally, I'm still in a car, still a 405, and there's, a couple of accidents and some road work, And we all had to be cooperative to find our way over, Sepulveda Pass into the San Fernando Valley. So so this, is I think, what I find so inspiring by all of you is that, you're bringing this into your life and recognizing the value of understanding dependently how we exist, the impermanent nature of our thoughts, feelings, emotions, the events of our lives, the fact that we can create the causes for who we become and how we experience life, that we are capable of being in the driver's seat of how we experience the world and not a prisoner of the events and activities as it just comes streaming at us and whatever reaction shows up. I get to, as Keith pointed out, pause, notice that and go, oh, is that true? Or is there another way to look at this? What's really true? Or as Kurt pointed out, who's upset at what? And Ashley's pointing out that way that we continually grow. I mean, every one of you just sharing, I think, the practical application of the opportunity to understand ourselves and the world a little better. So it's been great. All right, Kurt, what's up? I was going to wrap it up on that big kumbaya moment, but here we go.
He's
No,
gonna he's
no,
gonna he's
I'm
gonna
gonna screw that all up. That'd be fine. Let's leave.
no,
the
he's
Kumbaya.
gonna sing it now.
No, it just screws up my narrative I've told myself. I mean, this emptiness concept that I'd never heard before until I got listening to you was it screws up this narrative that I've told myself because in lack of that, right? That is, I believe, the true way that, but I didn't know that. And so I was just making stuff up about how things really worked. And I've had this narrative, this story I've told myself about myself my whole life. And really, when I compare it to what's actually going on, it just knocks that out, the feet out from underneath that. There's no way that I can continue to be a victim in the face of of this fact, right? It doesn't work, right? I can't do that anymore, right? So it's decentering in a big way and also freeing in a big way too, right? So I'm not trapped by this narrative, right? In this story I'm telling myself, which I find that hugely freeing actually, that this, I may not understand it, but it's better than what I was telling myself.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And then just, as we get ready to wrap up, the biggest thing that, you hear me say it all the time, and I just love to hammer this home, is that, we can recognize that we have the value to change our experience and we have the value, the opportunity to grow, and we can do all this. But then we can easily be hard on ourselves. Right. And, that is just, it's antithetical to what we're doing. There's days where, I got no mojo. There's days where I'm unskillful. And those days are actually allowing me they're showing me what I get to learn next. And to know that we've all come so far, we've all offered so much. And there's no bigger waste of time than beating ourselves up for wasting time. Like that you want to talk about a waste of time is to beat myself up thinking I should be better than I am. You want to talk about a waste of time. Or, or to think, wow, I could have done this. No, that's a waste of time. We are a work in progress. Biggest room in the world, room for improvement. And we get to be able to now see the mirror and learn the lessons. And it's hard to learn when we're being, difficult with ourselves. So that's something to always hold dear, please. All right, Roxana.
Earlier today, I listened to the Food Revolution Summit. And so they're doing this whole thing this whole week. And they were talking about dementia at first and how the brain is related to the intestines, the gut and the brain, and this vagus nerve and all that jazz. And then it's a plant-based diet that they recommend. But toward the end, they started talking about loving kindness and gratitude and meditation and reducing stress and all this stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm on the right track. I've been on that track for a while. It just totally sounded Buddhist to me, but it was great.
Good to hear. And I do want to point out that cherry pie is a plant-based diet. Um, just for the record.
Cherry pie is my favorite pie, absolutely. Ice cream is not allowed because it's vegan. Their whole thing is about being vegan, but anyway.
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone. I am really grateful to recognize how much you all bring to the world. And I'm very grateful we get to support each other in this process of learning how to live, and that we are connected and we have something to offer the world. It's wonderful to hear. All right, let's, if you'd like to, we can close out with a dedication of our time, our energy, our merit, our wisdom. Yeah, all the good that we brought to the world, our time together, and we can dedicate this for the benefit of all beings and for our own continued spiritual growth. May our collective efforts, a lot of things we could have been doing on a Wednesday evening, and we have participated in an opportunity to be helpful, to be kind, to learn about ourselves and others, to explore how we can be helpful, kind. Great deal of merit there. May we dedicate our collective merit for the benefit of all beings, and our efforts may find their way into the world, reducing suffering and creating the conditions for freedom. And may we also dedicate our merit and wisdom for our own continued spiritual growth, that we may ultimately recognize our own Buddha nature and be of greatest benefit to all. And with that context, those who care to, in a choice, invite you to just join in the formal dedication collectively of our merit and the merit of others. By this merit may I soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare so